See, and I'd really like to talk about some unique stuff that either doesn't get mentioned anywhere else, or they go to great lengths to hide it. For various reasons. People, it's like a third rail. Like people won't touch the topic, but mostly it's just not smart enough. To dig this deep and get at the answers and just really mind-provoking questions. But anyways, I was going to talk about the fitness influencers and stuff like that, and pretty much everybody's hip to the it's one thing I always like to do is like whenever I analyze something is what's the catch or where's the scam? How is somebody abusing it and things like that. And of course, it's always like, I guess you could call me cynical, somewhat, but of course with fitness influencers and there's tons of gullible people out there, and they think that stuff's real, just like they think WWE is real, and so they think these guys are natural. Of course, the scams, it's being exposed a lot now, where of course they're not. Almost anybody with a big social media presence, and they make their money off that. They make their money off of a fitness-related topic, and they have a big following, and they look like they're really. They're on something. They're not just I just worked hard, and no, that's not it. It's few and far between. You can count the natural ones on one hand, and of course the scam is there that they wow people with their physique, and then they sell some, BS. They use marketing to sell some BS workout plan or some kind of supplements, usually things like that, or coaching. Usually it's coaching, and that's pretty lucrative. Because by and large, a lot of people, I won't call them gullible, they just don't really know anything about working out or anything, or don't want to take the time to learn. They're anti-intellectual, and they don't really like researching anything. They want to be spoon-fed, So there's a big market of suckers out there for these guys. But my thing is, of course they use like all these steroids to make this fake physique and present that to the public. They're like, wow, to be real eye-catching. And basically it also gives them something that, I won't say nobody else has, but few other people have, especially if they can do it well. They respond to steroids really well. And they, some of them are huge and they're ripped as, like pro bodybuilders and stuff like that. And then they're selling their little herbs and stuff. Oh, it's just this, that puts on the mass, and I think they really should start investing in something else, because this whole niche is going to come crashing to an end pretty soon. And I'll tell you how. Is that now you probably looked at some of the AI stuff, and especially with being able to generate, like generative AI, generate pictures. It can generate video. You can generate full motion video now. And I'm waiting for the AI software that can basically edit, like take a video that you already have and edit and enhance it. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Because you could just take your video, do whatever you're going to do your spiel, and then you can use AI to basically boost your physique on that video. And even though you could be a skinny nerd, it'll look like, the AI can make it look like you're super jacked on the video. And so you wouldn't even need steroids anymore. So anybody could be a fitness influencer now, or very soon, in the very, very immediate future. This AI video editing software is going to be enabling just any skinny nerd, any dork that wants to pretend to be a fitness influencer to actually be one, to actually put out realistic, high def, full motion videos. Yet you won't be able to tell that's not a real physique. Excuse me. And so you'll have this glut of a whole ton of newbie fitness influencers. They won't have to put in any effort to get into the game. They'll have a piece of software, and that's it. And like I said, there's so many gullible people out there that just want to be spoon-fed. These guys are going to be making a lot of money until, it gets diluted. Well, who knows? They might, it might not happen. It might be a very, very good, kind of online strategy to make money for a lot of people for a long time to come. We'll see. It all depends on how really, the big social media platforms, how they react to it. That's the big question mark. Because I don't think they'll care. I think as long as it gets eyeballs, they don't care, because their main business is to serve ads. So, excuse me. But what else was I going to say? Oh yeah. There's another one about that. Of course, you've always heard. See, this is another thing. I was talking about social media stuff the other day, and about how they attract people to their platform. Usually they use big promises, so they create, whichever way they want to do it. I'm not really quite sure exactly, because I can only analyze so much. I only have so much information. Whether they'll have these big, the platform will come out, and they'll have these big stars on the platform, like, look, and these guys or gals will be making tons of cash. whether they are or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you get everybody, your target market, to believe that they are, right? So everybody sees, oh look, these guys are making all this money. I'm gonna jump on that, and they'll start doing OnlyFans and stuff like that, or YouTube. And I think that's what happened, because it just came out for a long time. The first couple years the OnlyFans was out, everybody kept bragging, oh, this girl's making $1 million, just implausible amounts of money. It's like, if anybody was making that money, believe me, the IRS would jump on them like like flies on a hot turd. I'm telling you, on a summer day. But anyways, they put out there's this big buzz around the OnlyFans. Oh, this girl's making basically a run-of-the-mill stripper. She's making even $50,000 a month or whatever the numbers are, and they kept saying it. You always see these stories. I guess, like I said, a lot of them were planted, but supposedly there were people making a whole lot of money on there. But now it's come out now that enough mundane people that they aren't promoted and they aren't part of some marketing scheme. Just regular people like, well, I'll go try it, and enough of them have tried it and failed, even though they were pretty promising. They're really hot, or they've got some hook or niche or something, and they might even be somewhat famous. And enough of them have tried it and failed, fall right on their face, and they're only making a couple $100 a month, right? Which I don't even know who pays for this stuff ostensibly, but that's kind of nuts to me. With the amount of if you want online smut, I mean, there's a huge backlog of stuff that's been in existence for a long time. It's on the internet now. You can get whatever you want. I don't know why anybody would pay for custom stuff, but anyway. Yeah, with OnlyFans. So who knows how much steam's run out of the platform. We know that a lot of people are complaining. A lot of girls are complaining, I can't make money with it. But what'll be promising, what'll be interesting, is when this AI editing software will be good enough. We'll say myself. Let's talk about me. If I were to take like a motion capture suit and put a mocap suit in and fucking do my sexy act, and I'll tell you another thing, a guy is going to be better at this than any girl could be, because a guy is going to be more in tune with what guys' fantasies are and what guys going to respond to, so he can act better. That's the real thing. And there's going to be guys that do this and put on a motion capture suit, do their act, do their spiel, and then go in and edit it, have the AI edit it, and basically he'll be able to skin himself as whatever hot chick, whatever bra size, whatever butt size, whatever skin color, whatever hair color, eyes, everything. Completely custom, just like video game character, except it'll be photorealistic and full motion, high definition, full motion video, and nobody will be able to tell it's not real. And you'll probably, now some of you guys are probably going to say, yeah, but what about real time? People are going to say they're going to want live streams. Well, that'll be in there too, and they will probably offer that as a service. I'm telling you guys, somebody's going to come up with this, and they're going to potentially make some money. I mean, you'd have to be a marketing guy to analyze it, but I would think that whoever can do this, I mean, basically technology is this type of technology would be miraculous, because a lot of guys are always like whining about OnlyFans and stuff like that. They're like, oh man, these chicks have life on tutorial mode or easy mode. They could just go on OnlyFans and shake their stuff and make thousands of dollars a month and not have to work or even leave the house. Well, technology with the AI editing software, that's going to enable a lot of guys to do that too. Yeah, that's going to be a big thing. And say that takes computing power, or some kind of remote rendering or something, maybe like as a service. Whoever can develop that will make a hell of a lot of money. Like AI skinning services for live video that look photorealistic. That would be a huge amount of profit. They got drunk drivers around here, driving drunk. Anyway. And see, now we can get into like almost really, I don't like to call it conspiracy theory. I just call it, speculative reason, really. Because, and I think that's why it pisses off so many NPCs, because, deep down, I mean, they don't even have the brain power to imagine a picture of an apple inside their head. So when you start, have you ever tried to explain, like, speculation and speculative reason, like if this could happen, then this could happen, but if not, then a branch, a logical tree. No, good luck. You have a better time trying to teach calculus to a rhesus monkey. I'm serious about that. You could probably find some way to teach it with, visual aids and stuff like that, like blocks and stuff. You could teach a calculus to a rhesus monkey. You're not going to get through to these NPCs. But anyways, speculative reason. And, well, see, what I was thinking about OnlyFans last time, I mean, and the potential of AI and video editing software is like, wow, this stuff's going to come out. I mean, where's it going to go? I mean, like, you're going to have the big movers and shakers that are going to, that run these platforms and have big lobbyists and things of that nature. They're going to say, well, we're going to react to this, or we're just going to pretend it doesn't exist. Because believe me, they don't want guys, and they don't want single guys. They certainly don't want sub 5 men to have, an income stream that's equivalent to one of these thoughts that have OnlyFans. They get thousands of dollars per month. And that's also why they discriminate against. Believe me, I've tried. I've been below the poverty line before. I've tried to apply for welfare. Forget it. If you're the wrong color, nope, it's not going to happen. I qualified fully for it, and it was denied repeatedly. And I was met with threats of violence and things of that nature. So that's just an example of lengths they're going to go to deny that kind of thing to the wrong people. And there's people back there. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. God, jeez. Oh yeah, so really is anybody's guess where, I think they'll slowly kind of crack down on OnlyFans in certain ways. They'll kind of like they do with YouTube, with like they crack down, you can't do this now, you can't do this. And basically it's just a way to purge the platform of, quote unquote, the wrong people, people they don't want to be financially secure, for sure. Will they have detection software? I'm not sure that'll work. I'm still skeptical that'll work. I mean, in the initial phases it will, but this is going to get so out of hand so fast. It's going to get good, guys. So it'll be an interesting time. We might be, excuse me, we might be, see, when you try to analyze stuff like this, what's your starting point? Your starting point is, I'm assuming that, all these chicks on the OnlyFans and stuff, like, that's real. Like, it's not complete marketing. Yes, I'm assuming that there's some that make some money on it, right? And so the reason you have to kind of go with that as a starting point, because you got to understand what they have in order to speculate on what they're going to protect, right? What the future is going to be, what form it's going to be in the future, or what possible form it could be in the future that they don't want. So it's hard to see. I want you guys to put in your comments below, what you guys think about it. Because I'm certain they're not going to allow having, they might, see, this is an interesting topic. I'm going to digress a little bit here in a second, but the reason I say that they're really vigilant about getting on stuff that could be a possible, revenue stream for people, make them financially independent. They'll get on that and they'll fucking, I'm going to bleep that out. They will take it and they will either choke the life out of it if they can't grab it and control it, right? That's just the way these psychos work. They're not going to allow, financial independence for anybody else. But saying about them being proactive and vigilant about trying to strangle out new sources of, basically what it is new sources of economic wealth, new sources of economic activity that generate wealth. Basically when the leftists yammer on about means of production, like Marxists, about seizing that's what they mean. They're not going to allow it just to be out there. They're going to take it and control it or ban it if they have to. And what I was going to say about one great example about this kind of thing, and they're kicking themselves to this day about it, and I guarantee you, they rue the day that they weren't vigilant enough to keep on top of this newly developing technology, was back in the 80s, when you had the development of the personal computer. Now, I can't tell you how much that could be a whole new video, how much that was just a groundbreaking development, because, prior to that, you had to have, what was the industry prior to that? Those weren't their first computers. Right? The industry prior to that was based on his multi-million-dollar or maybe billion-dollar industry, hundreds of millions of dollars. You had things like Digital Equipment Corporation and IBM, and they sold industrial computers, commercial industrial computers. Basically, they didn't take up a whole room. Well, they did. You had, mini computers, like the old PDPs and stuff like that, and the DEC Alphas were the successor to that. And But that was a well-developed industry. So right there, they had an investment in it. They had a large investment in keeping it the way it was, keeping the status quo. And he said it comes and subverts that, they're losing their investment, right? And it's not a silly little investment that they can just wave their hand at. It's investment in the form of, all the technology, all the engineering know-how, the top engineers, they know how it's represented in their skills that they've had and gained over time, and all their intellectual property, and also the physical stuff, because they actually physically produce those computers here. And that's very expensive. All the parts, think about all the parts, electromechanical parts, and things like that. And back then, I think like the PDP, those were individual transistors and stuff wired together. So you can find videos on YouTube about how stuff like that was done back then, and it's pretty interesting. But what was I going to say about? Oh yeah, so the 80s, you had the personal computer, and it came in, and it was this reason they dismissed it. And you can look in, let's see if I can remember this off the top of my head, because we're going to get into computer architecture a little bit, and it's okay if you're not familiar with that. You can always go and use this as a reference and check out what I'm talking about. The reason they didn't take personal computers like the early ones very seriously, like, that's a neat toy, it's a toy computer. It's because of the architecture of the chips is basically what it was. They didn't have virtual memory like the DEC stuff had. They didn't have all kinds of stuff like that was in the chip. It was really, really simple. I mean, you could get it to do all kinds of stuff. People programming software. You had you didn't have video terminals at first. Well, yeah, let's say video terminal. You could get to display things, and you input with a keyboard and do stuff. You could even get it to control certain things. Like guys had them controlling model trains and things like that. But as far as doing more complicated operations and things like that, or having really, really complicated software, you needed virtual memory really to do that well, right? Especially, like, as far as they were concerned, those early computers, they weren't a threat because they couldn't run Unix. Basically, if you want to put it down to one statement, is they weren't capable of serious work, right? So yeah, it's a cool hobbyist toy, but they weren't threatened by it because they did a technical analysis of it, and there's certain things lacking, virtual memory. I forget the other stuff. See, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's certain very highly technical things for the processor that PCs just didn't have in the early days. I'm talking about late 70s, early 80s. And so it was ignored. I mean, they're just like, well, we'll just leave them alone, check up on them in another 5 years and see how they're doing. And maybe if they're important enough, then we'll come in and just throw capital at it and take it over, which is how they traditionally respond to a threat. And so you had, there's really Bill Gates and Gary Kildall and stuff like that. And really, people talk about Bill Gates and stuff, but what were the platforms they had back then? Really, that your average schmo could go in. You really didn't have platforms yet. You had Apple and stuff, but when did it take off to the point of no return where, there's no longer putting that cat back in the bag and just like banning personal computers or anything like that. It's like, nope, they're here to stay, whether the elites like it or not. I don't know what time that was. Probably, I'd say the late 80s. Your late 80s. By the time Amiga and stuff came out, and you had the early Macs, like they were really great. The early Macs, like basically Mac 2, Mac 2 CI, and things like that. And it's really a question whenever elites whether they want to put the ban hammer down on something or let it kind of exist in a controlled form. That's basically your choices. And they usually go with trying to let it exist in a controlled form. The problem with computers is we can get real theoretical about it with computer software and what it can represent. But basically, a computer is a Turing machine, right? And you can express technically everything that's expressible, at least in logic and language terms, in there, right? So software can do that. So that's kind of might not mean much to people watching, but you can. Basically, that's how hacking works. Really, you can you can make something that's supposed to mean something and kind of subvert it, make it turn into something else, make it do something that wasn't intended, and that's pretty easy to do. But what it also means there have been efforts to control computer software and still have it in the form that we have today, where you can go run whatever software the user wants on his platform that he owns. And this is a deep topic. I should have made its own video. take whatever software the user has, runs it on a platform that he controls, and it's pretty much become the norm of how computers are used, and personal computers. That's the standard. There's been efforts to kind of lock things down, but people have rejected it, either commercially, or the people have hacked it and really trashed it, so it wouldn't be viable, or politically in some cases. And there's different movements on that. I think initially you had like the V chip and the Clipper chip. I think which one was which? I think wasn't Al Gore behind or Tipper Gore behind one of that? See, I'm going off the top of my head. This is just a rant. So it's just I'm out on a walk. I think, but yeah, there was a chip for censorship in TVs, and there was one. They're like, well, let's just do that with computers. And the initial version failed, but they eventually, and then they came out with Digital Millennium Copyright Act. You guys go look that up, and it's basically it allows the motion picture industry to come and sue anybody or hammer anybody and do whatever they want, and it has a bunch of nasty stuff in it, because the reason they did put it that way were all these legal threats and legal restrictions about potential use that could be displayed to a court. This user did this, is because they couldn't control it on an initial basis, like prior restraint. They couldn't put something in the platform that would make that stuff impossible on a technical basis. So after that, they came out with a couple other ideas, like trusted platform module, and that's kind of changed form into different things. It's actually in, I think it's in every personal computer, or most personal computers today, got a TPM. You guys can go look that up, and that's used for different things. Like I said, off the top of my head, I can't tell you a detailed technical report of it. It's kind of beyond the scope of the video anyway. But it can do things like hold encryption keys, so it can't be hacked, like gotten on your hard drive by an attacker. So it can do some good stuff, but it's also used for control purposes, for running trusted software. Which trusted software is, it's usually some form of they verify the software that you want to run, usually done through cryptographic means, and control it from being modified. Basically, think your average video game console. Okay, that's trusted software, where you can't just make a copy of it, of the disk, and put it in. It's not. Well, that's not going to work. It's got certain things that won't allow that. But you can't really put your own on an unmodified console. You can't just write software, because that when you have a game disk, that's all actually encrypted, and it kind of decrypts it on the fly, or most of it. But that's the gist. So, what was the original thing I was trying to say? About personal computing. So that's the reason why it kind of got out of the elite's control in a certain sense. Like, if they had their way now, they could wave a magic wand and destroy every personal computer, that in anybody's hand now. They do it. This is why you should also hold on to your old hardware too. Don't throw that stuff out, because they might come out with something that, and they have in the past, they might come out with something that's got vulnerabilities in it, backdoors. And the old stuff, hey, I got a Cyrix, what were they? Cyrix 586, 46, DX4. I got some old stuff that I keep around. So, yeah, it has its own problems, but it doesn't have specific vulnerabilities. Remember Spectre, Meltdown? Yeah, I switched everything over to an alternative platform. I had a Sun server. It was like a Sunfire T2. It was actually pretty good. It's still pretty good. And that hack wouldn't work on that, and the whole world was melting down for Meltdown, and I was just sitting pretty. So, it's always good to hold on to your old hardware. But yeah, if they had their way, they wouldn't have it the way it is now. They can't really. Kind of, that's the thing. People, when they analyze stuff like that, and they'll say, oh well, the elites agree with the exact way the way things are, or they would have it some other way, and that's not always possible. See, that's a very naive type of analysis, very naive type of thinking that just the elites only have things exactly the way they want it. No, because there isn't. Wow, it's really deep reason why that's not possible. It's because there's no perfect form of logic. There's no perfect form of analysis. They can't just. There's always going to be surprises, right? And there's always going to be things that it costs them more than they want to spend to try to change something, right? Yeah, they don't like the way something might be right now. They can't afford to change it. It'll cost them more to change it. What I'm saying is, there's risk involved in doing anything. So there's too much risk involved in changing something that they don't like, so they'll let it be. So there's plenty in our world. It's not to the elite's liking. People that are like these conspiracy theorists, they're not to say, oh no, it's just a deeper trick and a deeper scheme in their plan. Nope. And the other thing is, when you think that way, you have to really think about that form of thinking. What you're giving them, right, in your mind, you're in your mental model of reality, you're putting them on the ultimate pedestal, right, where they're omnipotent. Now, what is that? What is that? You're worshiping them. They tricked you into worshiping them. See? That's why I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. If you're one of these guys that thinks, oh, the elites are all powerful and everything's just the way they want it, and if you think there's a loophole in something, it's a trick. Nope. What that means, if you think the elites are omnipotent, nope, you're worshiping them, and that's a sin, actually. And people are running around, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists that, of course, they call themselves Christian. It's not my place to judge whether they really are not or are Christian, but when they do that, when they make the elites in their mind omnipotent, then what they're doing is they're worshiping them. And that's the sin. Thou shalt not have any other gods but me. So that's something to think about. What else on this video?